Hello again and welcome to Letter from England, broadcasting for AC Press of the Spanish Evangelical Alliance. Two issues which refuse to go away are the issue of regulating or not the wearing of a veil in public places, and the issue of religious discrimination, particularly that against Christians in Europe. The Spanish Justice Minister, Francisco Caamaño, said recently that he sees as absolutely necessary a new law on the freedom of religion, and stated that this law, applying what he called both common sense and tolerance, must be specific about the use of the headscarf or veil. In a TV interview, the minister insisted that the law will have to pin down which religious items of personal identification a citizen is allowed to wear in public buildings, depending on the activities carried out at those locations. Not all veils are the same, he added, and it will be the law that will determine specific issues. Quite how that will be worked out in practice remains to be seen. The issue would appear to be fraught if certain items of clothing are going to be banned from certain buildings. But there. Meanwhile, the Education Minister, Ángel Gabilondo, is calling for a general rule on the use of religious symbols in schools, but has insisted that a proper debate is necessary, as it is, in his opinion, an extremely complex issue. He said first we must discuss and then make a decision, not the other way round, as we usually do in this country. That's how he put it on a TV programme recently. And then he said the debate about the use of the Islamic veil must focus on several fronts. Women's dignity, the question of whether it's discriminatory or not, freedom of religion, the school's autonomy, and freedom regarding personal appearance. Well, there are enough issues there to keep the debate going for years. Referring to the young girl from Pozuelo de Alarcón who was excluded from high school classes for wearing the Islamic veil, the minister said that it's a delicate affair that we mustn't burden a girl with. But of course the girl is burdened, although presumably she doesn't see it as a burden. She has to wear it, or she wishes to wear the veil. Society certainly is burdened with the issue, and trying to legislate on it and regulate its use will, I think, be an extremely difficult issue. Meanwhile, the Evangelical Alliance is continuing its campaign against the Council of Europe discrimination report. In January, in view of the many amendments presented to the original text, the Council of Europe postponed the vote on the report about discrimination and sexual orientation. The Evangelical Alliance, having checked through the revised text, is now proposing to send suggested amendments to the controversial text, which refers to things such as abortion or adoption by homosexual couples, and intends sending these amendments to council representatives in Spain for a second time. Since the original report was considered too controversial, they decided to organise a new meeting at the Council of Europe in order to discuss it and vote on it again. However, the Alliance says that although the person that wrote the report has modified a few paragraphs, he's not modified the essence of the report itself. After having seen the efficacy of the first action, both the Spanish and the European Evangelical Alliances decided to contact the Spanish political representatives in the Council of Europe by email. The text is not the same as the one that was sent in January, since changes have been made, but the alliances are asking for the elimination of a few paragraphs, not just minor modifications. Their amendments were presented during the debate of the resolution entitled 15 Years After the Action Programme of the International Conference on Population and Development, referring back to the Cairo Conference. Now, during the negotiation of that action programme at the Cairo Conference, the members of the United Nations explicitly excluded abortion from the means of birth regulations, and they excluded the statement of a fundamental hypothetical right to carry out an abortion. The Cairo Action Programme did not create a right of abortion, but left it to member states to decide the degree of protection which should be afforded unborn children in their respective countries. And the Action Programme points out that the carrying out of their recommendations, quote, is a sovereign right that each country exerts in a complementary way with their national legislation and their priorities in terms of development, fully respecting the different religions, the ethical values and the cultural origins of their people, in accordance with the principles of human rights that are universally recognised. Well, the whole of the report, according to the European Centre for Law and Justice, a group which specialises in European law, is based in its initial text on a neo-Malthusian ideology that insists on the particular need to limit the number of births in poor countries. The intervention of several associations and some members of Parliament caused a first postponement of the study of the text and then its later revision, but that remains incomplete. Concerning adoption, they propose to eliminate certain paragraphs that allude to the rights of homosexuals to adopt children. Nevertheless, both paragraphs completely ignore the children's interests, say the Alliance. All scientific evidence shows that children need the figure of both father and mother. The right of each child to have both figures takes preference over the right of adoption of a homosexual couple. Therefore, they say, we cannot talk about the right to adopt, it concludes. The amendment also emphasises the need to respect the child's rights. I quote again, the European Court of Human Rights has made it clear that in the case of adoption, they may and they indeed should make distinctions based on objective criteria between people and family circumstances in order to make sure that the interests of the child are given top priority. And the Alliance wants Euro MPs to be aware that many Europeans are opposed to the controversial measures recommended in this report. Well, thank you for listening to Letter from England, broadcasting each week at emission.net. Goodbye for now.